and thank you for joining us on the issue today. My name is Victor Mwira. On May 21, 2024, President Hakainde Hichilema launched construction of the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway in Kapiri, marking the beginning of works on the 327-kilometer stretch, a road of immense regional and economic significance. The launch came in the wake of a 25-year public-private partnership PPP concession agreement between the government and Macro Oceans Investment Consortium, a collaboration of Chinese companies, including Avic International, to work on the Lusaka-Ndola road signed on February 28, 2023. This $650 million project represents a shift in policy from using public funds and debt for infrastructure development to private sector-led development. My guest in the studio is development finance expert Susiku Nasinda. We will be discussing the Lusaka-Ndola PPP road and examining how Zambia will benefit from this project that will be operated by the contractor for a period of 25 years before it is finally handed over to the government. Mr. Nasinda, I would like to say thank you so much for making an appearance on the issue today.
Thank you so much, Victor. I'm so grateful that you invited me to come and share my thoughts on this topical issue.
And we feel here that as a development finance expert, you are well vested in such issues as public-private partnerships, and you understand this very well. So we will be discussing this Lusaka-Ndola dual carriage road, which is under PPP.
That's right.
Perhaps we can just begin from the premise where you share with us what PPP is and how this differs from traditional government procurement methods.
Thank you, Victor. So, as the name suggests, public-private partnership is an arrangement where the private sector takes part in implementing public projects. So basically, it's the private sector getting involved in delivering key infrastructure programs to support the work of government in delivering the much-needed development. In traditional procurement methods, what would happen is that the government will source for funding either from tax or by issuing debt, like has been done in the past where we issued Eurobonds. And once the government secures the funding for that particular project, then the government finances. Once the government finances the construction, in this case of a road, they will be responsible for maintenance and operation of the road after completion. So what that means is that in addition to the funds that are required by government to pay the contractor to do the road, in subsequent years, the government will also be required to raise funding to be able to maintain the road where there's damage in terms of potholes, and also to expand the road in instances where traffic volumes go beyond the initial plan. So what that does is that the traditional procurement method requires for government to constantly have funds to be able to invest first initially into development of the project and then subsequently in the maintenance. But you will agree with me, Victor, that the pace from which government draws those funds is a very limited pace because there are other competing needs. For example, if we're talking about the road, the Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway, if government spends money on that road, it means that it can't spend money on other competing needs, such as schools, such as hospitals, airports, and many other infrastructure needs. So PPP models have been in existence for just over about 100 years. They have been used globally, more especially in the developed world. The United States of America, Europe, and also in countries like South Africa, here on the African continent. The PPP model has been tested and has proven to be quite effective. The goodness about the PPP model is that the source of the funding does not come from government. So a special purpose vehicle is set up. In the instance of the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway, there's a special purpose vehicle that has been set up which will be responsible for borrowing and repayment of the borrowed funds. It will also be responsible for generating revenues that will be used to compensate the providers of capital, which is equity capital.
Okay, let's look at the economic significance of this Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. How important is it to Zambia?
Thank you. This development is a very historical development because when you look at the significance of the Kitwe-Ndola Road, the Lusaka-Ndola Road, it's very, very significant. This is because it is the gateway to the Copperbelt rich area of the country, which is the Copperbelt province as well as Northwestern province. So the copper that is extracted from the northern part of the country, which is the Copperbelt and Northwestern province, is primarily transported to export markets in South Africa through the Ndola-Lusaka road. So it's a very, very important road. And then you also realize that Zambia is not an island. Zambia is a landlocked country that supports the DRC. And so exporters of products from South Africa are able to use this road to export their products into the Congo DR. And then Congo DR is also able to export its copper produce. You know, Congo is the largest copper producer on the African continent right now. So this is a gateway in the region. It's a gateway that supports Namibia. It's a gateway that supports Zimbabwe. It supports Botswana. And the significance of this road is that right now Zambia has ambitious plans of scaling up copper production from the current 800,000 metric tons to 3 million metric tons annually over the next 10 years. What this means is that for the country to reach that kind of production level, we need to scale up important infrastructure to be able to support that. And development of this road becomes very, very important. Another aspect that can be talked about in a different discussion is the importance of rail development so that that 3 million metric tons of copper can be absorbed and transported in a reasonable time. So the economic significance is that, first of all, Zambia is able to generate revenue from other countries that are using this road as a gateway. So South African exporters, DRC exporters, they will be paying toll fees in this particular instance, and Zambia will be able to benefit. But also, the road creates employment. Almost immediately, 4,000 people will be employed directly in this particular project following the launch, and then indirectly, suppliers of goods and services will be able to benefit, I think, about 24,000 as well. So in terms of significance, it links the region. It adds to the infrastructure development in the region and also helps Zambia to meet its infrastructure development needs.
Have we ever implemented a project of this magnitude under PPP before as a country?
Zambia has been doing PPPs for some time now, but this will be the most significant PPP that we have done. But just to try and give you a background of where we are coming from in terms of ability to be able to manage PPPs. So Zambia has got a PPP unit under the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for developing PPP guidelines and PPP operational models. They also do a lot of research and provide guidance to the government of Zambia in terms of how PPPs need to be implemented. So they make recommendations for the development of the legal framework as well as the regulatory framework, because these two are extremely important. So you will note that in 2023, the government updated the PPP Act. So there was a previous act, which was PPP Act number 14 of 2009. But when the New Dawn government came into power and they are championing PPPs, we have seen an enhancement into the PPP Act. So Zambia is making positive strides in terms of creating the regulatory as well as legal framework required for PPPs to work. So the PPPs that we've done so far, I think this year there's been the launch of the Kasumbalesa, the road, Chilabombwe-Chingola road, that's under a PPP model. A very, very good contract, I think, that we've seen there, and also the standard of the road that has been constructed is extremely good. And then the other PPP that we can talk about is the Lubama market in Kamwala. That was also a PPP model. So Zambia has been doing PPPs for some time. So the Lubama and then Chingola Kasumbalesa road, those are tangible PPPs that we have implemented in the country.
So here for instance, let's just look at sub-Saharan Africa.
That's right.
What are some of the countries that you can cite where you see PPPs working very well and for the benefit of those countries? Do we have examples that really you can share with us briefly?
Yes, we have very good examples. So I'll pick on Mozambique, South Africa, and Kenya. So let me start with Kenya. Kenya, Nairobi specifically, is a very, very highly populous capital city, one of the most populous capital cities in this on the continent. And because of that, traffic in Nairobi in times past has been chock-a-block, extremely difficult to move very short distances. It would take you maybe 2-3 hours to travel a distance of 30 kilometers, 45 kilometers, maybe like from here to Kafue. If you take 4 hours, if you take 3 hours during peak time, that's a lot of time lost. So what the Kenyan government did was to do a PPP model for the Nairobi expressway. So it's a 27-kilometer stretch, a very beautiful masterpiece of a super highway that is able to carry traffic into and out of the CBD. So that has helped decongest the CBD, but also because it's a PPP model, it means that the government did not have to put in money into the project, but the private sector was permitted to bring in that money. So what that does is that then Kenya can use money in other needy areas like providing health, providing education, supporting agriculture and tourism, which are also key sectors of its development. When you go to South Africa, South Africa has been doing PPPs since 1993. They've got very, very good PPPs. They have implemented more than 300 PPPs, and mostly these are in health as well as in road infrastructure. So in road infrastructure, in South Africa, there's a road called the N3. The N3 road starts from Mafikeng, which is in the northern border with Botswana. So it runs all the way from the border between South Africa and Botswana, goes through Johannesburg, goes through Pretoria, and then it runs all the way up to Maputo in Mozambique. So that road is a very, very, very good road. Over 600 kilometers in total. 50 kilometers of it is in Mozambique, while the rest of it is in South Africa. And then there's also another PPP road, which is the N3. The N3 is the road that connects Durban to Johannesburg. Now, those are massive infrastructure, world-class infrastructure. They are not only important for supporting economic activity in the entire region, but also the way they are designed and maintained adds beauty to the country. So, for example, you know that Zambia uses Durban for import. A lot of things that we import, for example, vehicles from Japan, capital equipment from China, most of it comes through Durban. Some of it comes through Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. But you can see the importance of infrastructure is that it has got far-reaching implications on the entire region. So this road is very, very important. South Africa has done road, Nairobi, Kenya has done roads. And then in Mozambique, one of the oldest PPPs, which was done in 1998, is the Mozal project. Mozal is basically, I think, Mozambique aluminium. So there's a huge aluminium plant in Mozambique, which is operated by a consortium of South African investors. And it was done almost 2 decades ago, a very successful model of PPP on the African continent. It has provided jobs to a lot of Mozambicans and provides revenue as well to that country.
Great. So we will be taking a break. And after that, I would like us to reflect. You've talked about, the positives and the advantages of this, because you come up with a very good infrastructure that fuels development.
That's right.
But are there risks of PPPs? So we will be discussing that immediately we come back from break. But for now, we take a break. We are taking this break, and immediately we come back, we will delve into the risks. Are there any risks if a country chooses to undertake a project under PPP? We will be back shortly.
The Issue is a program that looks at topical issues happening in the country. Watch The Issue every Friday at 19:30 hours, only on Zanis TV, Channel 6 DTT and Channel 458 DTH on Topstar. Don't miss.
Welcome back to The Issue. If you are just joining us, we are discussing the benefit of the 25-year concession agreement between the government and Macro Oceans Investment, a collaboration of Chinese companies that include Avic International, who have been engaged to work on the 327-kilometer Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. My guest in the studio is development finance expert Susiku Nasinda. Mr. Nasinda, before we took the break, we were talking about successful projects in Africa, PPP projects in Africa. Before we look at the challenges and risks that are associated with the PPPs, I would like us to discuss the very fact that in the past 20 years, we have seen increased volumes of traffic on the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway. To what do you attribute this? Are we saying we are growing economically as a country, making this road of immense economic value?
Thank you very much, Victor. I first came to Lusaka in 2003. That time, the travel time by bus between Lusaka and Kitwe was about 4.5 hours, maximum 5 hours. And that included the usual stops in Kabwe as well as Kapirimposhi. But over the years, there's a lot that has happened in the country, especially post 2010. The key things being the development of Lumwana mine in Northwestern Province, as well as Kalumbila mine. So basically opening up of Northwestern Province for mining activity. That has resulted in an increased flow of traffic from Northwestern Province up until Livingstone and Chirundu in some instances. And also there's been other key developments like establishment of the Dangote cement plant in Ndola. So you will realize that these are recent developments that have taken place over the last 10 to 15 years. Development of the Dangote plant in Ndola, but also over the last decade, the Democratic Republic of Congo has significantly increased copper production. So Congo used to be at par with Zambia a couple of decades ago at about 800,000 tons. Right now they produce about 2.5 million metric tons of copper. Now that's a lot. And a significant part of this ore is transported through Zambia from Kasumbalesa border post up until the time that it exits Zambia from the various borders. So if you go on this particular road, the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway, a significant amount of traffic constitutes trucks that are transporting copper ore. And then you also see that trade between Lusaka and the copper belt has also increased. So a lot of people are traveling, coming to Lusaka for business, and then going back to the copper belt to sell or to resell. And also the growth of the Zambian economy means that the population has grown, and there has been an emergence of a middle class in the country, and a lot of people can afford to buy motor vehicles.
Exactly. So, meaning there's a lot of pressure on
yes,
this road.
There's a lot of pressure on this road.
Which has led to the state in which it is, because there's a lot of heavy traffic, and
yes,
you're talking about trucks.
Very heavy trucks, very heavy trucks. If you go in the Kapiri area, the road is significantly damaged there. And then also, if you look at the weighbridge in Kafulafuta, if you see the number of trucks that park there to just ensure that they are weighed to try and safeguard the road, it's huge volumes of traffic that we're talking about. And then also you realize that the government of Zambia is currently implementing a night travel ban. So certain vehicles like trucks and big buses are not able to travel during the night from about 22, 23 up to 05. So all these vehicles are on the road at the same time during the day. Now, when vehicles are traveling at the same time, it means that the instances of traffic jams increase. And wherever there's a traffic jam, it puts pressure on the road and the road gets damaged. So the new PPP road, I think having a dual carriageway, once it's completed, would definitely might lead to government lifting up travel bans, because vehicles will be able to travel without having a lot of accidents.
Let's look at this concession period, 25 years. Of course, it's divided into two. There's 3 years of construction, and then we have 22 years of
operation and maintenance. That's right.
What are the risks? What are the challenges? What are the risks of such an agreement?
Okay, so the nature of PPPs is that they transfer risk, and risk is transferred or allocated to the party that is best suited to manage the risk. So for example, if you look at the Ndola-Lusaka road in its current state, the government bears the full risk of that road. What do I mean? It means that if a contractor is procured by government to construct the road, and the contractor does not do a good job, but they are fully paid for that road and they exit the country, if they are foreigners or if they are locals, they decide to focus on another project. Once they deliver the road, they give the risk of that road to government. So government bears the full risk. It means that if the road gets damaged, afterwards, maybe within 5 years, government will need to look for funds to be able to maintain that road and rehabilitate it. Now, if you look at the state of the Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway, it's in a very bad state. It means that government has been struggling to look for funds to maintain the road. But also the new dimension is that this will be a dual carriageway. So you have 4 lanes, 2 lanes on one side and 2 on the other. The government has not had the opportunity to be able to raise funds to do a dual carriageway. So now we have a party that is coming to assume that risk. It is a positive development. So what PPPs do is that look for a party which will assume specific risk. So it's financing risk to look for funding, fund the project, and then pay back the loans from the proceeds, which are targets. And then that's point number 1. Point number 2, technical risk. The technical risk is the risk of designing a durable road. So for the next 25 years, the Zambian government will go to bed peacefully because they won't have to worry about this road. There's somebody else who has assumed the risk of maintaining the road, of fixing the potholes, of ensuring that the road signage is working. So you can see that there's a lot of risk that has been assumed. The other risks that may be there, because you know the consortium is looking for money to invest. They've signed a contract with an investment and financing contract with NAPSA. NAPSA is putting in 300 million United States dollars, and then Workers' Compensation is putting in $50 million, and the balance is being put in by the consortium. So these funds need to be repaid. It's a risk. So the consortium has got a job to intelligently ensure that this PPP works, so that they are able to repay NAPSA the 300 million, they're able to repay Workers' Compensation. How are they going to do it? They'll be collecting toll fees. So there's usually that pressure to increase toll fees significantly in order to recoup the investment faster. So how do you safeguard that risk? Because this is a public road. The public will want to travel at affordable rates, and this is where the government comes in to negotiate what are the terms of adjustment for the prices of the toll gates. So that is supposed to be carefully thought of. And then the other significant risk, you see the borrowing is in United States dollars. So NAPSA has invested 300 million United States dollars. But the payment of these toll fees to repay the loans will be done in kwacha. When you go to the toll gate in Shimabala, you pay 20 kwacha for a small vehicle. And if the Zambian economy is not stable, for example, where the kwacha significantly depreciates against the US dollar, it means that repayment of those loans becomes more expensive, because you need to have more kwacha to buy 1 unit of a US dollar to be able to repay that loan.
Your final remarks, Mr. Nasinda, before we just close this interview. As we have looked at this arrangement, which according to what you have shared with us, is actually the largest project that we are implementing under PPP as a country.
Thank you very much, Victor. I would like to commend the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Infrastructure for taking this bold step of doing a dual carriageway between Lusaka and Ndola through a PPP model to develop at either individual or national level requires bold decisions, bold leadership, people that are able to to do something that is new, something that has not been done, and then be able to take full responsibility of that particular decision that they make. So we commend government for this bold step. We are going to have a world-class road that will stand the test of time, but more importantly, for the next 25 years, government will not be able to spend on this road. I think it's a game changer. It's a game changer in that traffic volumes will increase because of the expanded roads. So we are able to derive more revenue as a country, but there'll also be more efficiency in terms of the time it takes to travel between the Copperbelt and Lusaka. It will also reduce on the number of accidents that we have been seeing on this particular road. So kudos to Ministry of Finance and best wishes to the consortium as they develop this project. Thank you.
Mr. Nasinda, I would like to say thank you so much for finding time to appear on the issue program.
Thank you. I look forward to being here next time.
Great, thanks. There you have it, viewers, an important issue on the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway public-private partnership project launched by President Hakainde Hichilema on 21st May 2024. My name is Victor Mwila. Until next time, on behalf of the entire production team, it's goodbye for now.